Alright, first a short thank you to Rich for sponsoring this video. Now Rich wallets, they don't fold and they are not the large bulky wallets filled with unnecessary stuff that a lot of us have in our pockets. Instead they are sleek, beautiful and durable, two metal plates bound together by an elastic band. They are made from metals such as titanium, carbon fiber and aluminium. Now I personally got the titanium matte cobalt and Thomas went for the aluminium OD green, and we find them simple and elegant and quite beautiful. Now Rich wallets are the real deal. They have more than 30,000 5-star reviews online, and there's also a lifetime warranty on the wallets if you love them. And if you don't love them, within the first 45 days after receiving them you can just send them back and you will get a full refund. The wallet can hold up to 12 cards and also has a beautiful money clip for your cash. So if you want to support the channel, go to rich.com/storytellers and you can use the code Storytellers to get 10% off today. Johnny Depp's character Jack Sparrow.
Captain Jack Sparrow, if you please.
Captain Jack Sparrow will always be one of the most iconic figures in modern cinema, and it is therefore hard to imagine that the original Pirates of the Caribbean Curse of the Black Pearl, it was almost scrapped completely by then Disney CEO Bob Iger after he saw what Johnny Depp was doing with the character.
So that's the reason for all the...
Questions were raised about what was going on. What was Captain Jack Sparrow? Was he drunk? Was he gay?
Who am I?
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Of course, not scrapping the Pirates of the Caribbean movie and letting Johnny Depp have his way with the character turned out to be a highly profitable move for Disney, and the film, but most of all the character of Jack Sparrow, tapped into something iconic, into a universal archetype. Now in this video I want to argue that Captain Jack Sparrow takes a very interesting position within archetypal masculinity, but first let's explore 2 out of 4 psychological archetypes of mature masculinity as they are established by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette. In their book King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, Moore and Gillette identify these as 4 archetypes of masculinity, and each of these archetypes symbolizes an ideal that one can aspire to, but each of them also has a shadow side to them.
Sir Ilan, bring me his head.
Now the 2 central archetypes that I want to discuss are the warrior and the king, because although Moore and Gillette introduced these as separate, I think that in many stories there is a natural progression from one to the other. The journey towards manhood often starts with a child that grows up in the comfort and safety of his parents' household, where he feels secured and safe. But as I've discussed in my Lion King essay, children, and in this case Simba, often experience a dysfunctional sense of self-importance called infantile omnipotence, where he feels as the center of the universe, exhibiting an arrogance and feeling of power that is not deserved or balanced with a sense of responsibility.
I was just trying to be brave like you.
I'm only brave when I have to be.
Now Moore and Gillette also identify dysfunctional shadow sides to the archetypes of boyhood. On the king axis we have the weakling prince and the high chair tyrant.
You're talking to a king!
At the warrior axis we have the coward and the grandstanding bully. Nevertheless, the transition from boyhood to manhood starts with the hero's journey, either through a call to adventure, a need to step out into the world and test oneself against its dangers, or it is forced through a tragedy and the dangers of the world descending upon the boy. Although Moore and Gillette differentiate between the warrior and the king as separate archetypes of manhood, I would make the argument that often one follows upon the other. The hero's journey starts with the warrior's path, but where in Joseph Campbell's conceptualization, at the end of the journey the hero returns home or rides off into the sunset, in just as many cases at the end of the warrior path and hero's journey, there is the adaptation of the mantle and the responsibilities of the king.
Jon Snow avenged the Red Wedding. He is the White Wolf, the king in the north.
This is the full transition into manhood. Now, although the hero's journey is an important path to fully realize a healthy and fulfilling adulthood, as the shadow sides of these archetypes show, the transition into manhood is a dangerous one. When one enters the call to adventure, the hero's journey, the warrior path, you assume risk of personal tragedy and destruction, of getting killed in combat and losing your life. But of course there's also the risk of becoming one of the shadow sides of the archetypal warrior. The shadow warrior can lose sight of what the warrior path is supposed to be, a healthy way to assert your power, identity and confidence in the world, as a way to stand up against injustice and abuse, and as the responsibility to change the world for the better. Instead, the shadow warrior can become raging, destructive and cruel. And if you successfully walk the path of the warrior and at the end assume the mantle of king, which brings with it its own dangers of the shadow sides, the king of course in its fullest potential is almost divine, providing fertility and blessing to his kingdom, but it is easy to fall in the shadow side and become the weak king or the tyrant king. Furthermore, the responsibilities of being king will weigh so heavy that even the best of kings might crumble under it. If the king archetype is the fullest transition into manhood, it does not only mean reaching the divine and bestowing blessing and balance upon your kingdom, it is a burden of constant stress and responsibilities to wear the crown, with difficult choices and the possibility of corruption. For any king, heavy lies the crown.
Who wants to be king?
And this is where Jack Sparrow comes in. Jack completely rejects any kind of hero's journey, responsibility and the pursuit of great wealth, great power or romance.
I gotta go.
Jack! This is not over! Jack!
He falls mostly into the archetypal trickster, the fool who nevertheless bestows a certain wisdom through both his words and his actions.
You're mad.
Thank goodness for that, because if I wasn't, this would probably never work.
And while Will is set upon his hero's journey for love, Jack runs away from all these pursuits and only wants true freedom. Because as we know, the hero's journey and full transition into the warrior and then king holds not only rewards but also many dangers and burdens. Almost all of us pursue more money, more influence, better relationships and personal betterment in the hope of it fulfilling us. But it can just as much become a burden and a cage that ultimately is destructive. True freedom lies not in the attainment of these things, but in letting go of the need to pursue it. Jack represents what I would call the playful adventurer archetype that represents the search for freedom. He has no true desire for wealth or power, because he knows this can ultimately become a curse. All he wants is his ship, the beloved Black Pearl, because as the fastest ship in the Seven Seas, it represents the ultimate freedom.
But what a ship is, what the Black Pearl really is freedom.
And even when he can't have his ship, a little boat does fine as well. He also lives his life without planning, because to try and plan and to control everything, to control one's destiny, is in a sense also the destruction of one's freedom. Jack Sparrow truly lives from one moment to the next, improvising as he goes.
Do you think he plans it all out? Or just makes it up as he goes along?
Now, this is not to say that Jack is weak or that his actions are a form of adolescent escapism, of the weakling boy running away from his true self, like Simba in The Lion King.
When the world turns its back on you, you turn your back on the world.
When Jack wants to, he has the power and the strength to be heroic. It's why people do follow him and need him, why they are willing to go to the end of the world for him.
Will you sail to the ends of the earth and beyond to fetch back wicked Jack and him precious pearl?
But when it's done, he wants to return to complete freedom. He does not want the burden and the responsibility of wealth, leadership and relationships. The idea that fulfillment and freedom come not from the pursuit of money, power or love, but from letting go of the unhealthy need to pursue those things is well established in psychology and philosophy. For example, in the book Letting Go by David R. Hawkins, the idea is that our obsessive need to control things and the feeling that we will only be complete, only be fulfilled if we achieve certain things, money, power, fame, love, causes unhappiness. The book argues that achieving it is not a solution because we will always want more. Instead, if we let go of this, and as the book argues also let go of our traumas, we will drift not into scarcity but into abundance, into freedom. Of course, just as with other archetypes, there is a shadow side to the free, playful adventurer as well. Letting go of these pursuits and a refusal to adopt responsibility can lead to nihilism, to just chase pleasure through destructive behavior such as alcohol, to just drink, party and not care about anything or anyone. But the process of letting go and finding true freedom is not supposed to lead to nihilism and not doing anything constructive. By letting go of what we in reality don't need, what is supposed to happen is for inspiration to kick in. Letting go should lead to the freedom to pursue what we truly want most in this world. Ultimately, everything is about balance, and this video is in no way a rejection of the hero's journey, both on screen and in our own lives. The hero's journey and the warrior path can be incredibly fulfilling and important to walk, to establish yourself in the world as strong and capable, while the king energy can allow you to care and be responsible for those you love, to create balance in your world and to help lift others up. But we must not get lost in the burden of these tasks. We must also see life as a joyful, uncertain adventure where we are free to pursue what we aspire to do, where every day brings new opportunities and new challenges, where one day we are up and one day we are down, and that all of those experiences ultimately make life worth living. And it is here where, with the archetype of the playful adventurer, we can draw inspiration from Captain Jack Sparrow.
But better to not know which moment may be your last. Every morsel of your entire being alive to the infinite mystery of it all. I have no say in it, Gibbs. It's a pirate's life for me. Savvy?